morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. One day away from March Madness. I mean, I know the kind of first four or whatever play-in games, those are going on, but really we're one day away. Tomorrow we will be firing up the stream at this time, and we'll be 1 hour basically away from the actual start of the NCAA tournament. Can't wait. We're here to build our bracket. We're going to run through everything and kind of break it down the best I can. Ryan, good morning. Keaton, good morning. My regional previews are up on the website, although it looks like one of them is not showing up. So I'll look at that after the stream. It's probably just I probably just didn't publish it. It's just saved. But those are up, rollinginsights.com if you want to go read those. But we're going to dive into everything and build this bracket. Mitchell, what's up? So I'm going to put this bracket that I'm making today in this 25K Yahoo contest. So maybe we can, make something crazy happen. But overall, we're going to talk strategy and everything. So if you guys have followed me for a long time, I've had a ton of success in these March Madness pools in the past. And I think that the most important thing when you're building a March Madness bracket, you can have success in these bracket pools having watched zero college basketball for the entire season. If you are on online, Twitter, wherever, and someone is saying and giving out bracket advice, and their reasoning as to why you should listen to them is that they have watched a bunch of college basketball, I would just not listen to that person, because it just doesn't matter, in my opinion. You have to know what's going on, sure, like that can help you, but bracket pools are very similar to daily fantasy sports, which is another thing that, you really don't need to watch the sport, honestly, even though I watch more sports than anyone. You don't need to watch sports. It's like a big puzzle. It really comes down to a lot of game theory. So yeah, that's kind of my higher level thoughts. And then make sure you know what type of pool you are playing in. This is the most important thing because so many people join these. Make sure you know the scoring and make sure you know how many people are going to be in your bracket pool, because that's going to dictate a lot of your decisions. If you're playing, smaller field, office pools with your family and friends, the stuff that I like to play, right? 100 or less people, 200 or less people, you don't need to be picking upsets, even if you think, right, one of these teams is going to lose. Like, even if you said, oh, my favorite upset is, Robert Morris over Alabama. I'm just giving you guys an example. You don't need to pick that in your bracket if you're playing against 100, 200 people. It really just makes no sense to do that. Now, if you're playing in something like this Yahoo, something that's going to have thousands and thousands of people in it, you can get a little bit weirder in those, but it's still, make sure you're mindful of the leverage that you're trying to get and where you're gaining it at, because picking a bunch of upsets in the first round might you might think that's good going into it, but you're not getting any points for these early round games, right? So if you picked Robert Morris in your bracket, for example, and you pick him over Bama, and that happens, right? You're going to get 10 points for that. So what's the likelihood if you did that? Like, are you taking Robert Morris on some crazy run, right? Like, they're probably not going to get you any more points because you probably have them losing pretty soon after that. You're only going to get a few points for that. But if you pick that wrong and Alabama goes on a run and they get to the Final Four or something, you've missed out on hundreds and hundreds of points for those later round games that are worth all of the points. So be mindful of the scoring, and the field size that you're playing against would be my best advice. To add your futures, I would say sometimes they work as a hedge, Ryan, for sure. It kind of just depends on which bracket. Like, I'm in a big bracket pool with like 15 people. That's like higher dollar, so I probably won't get too crazy in that. I'm already going to be at an advantage because I'm never going to pick the highest owned champion. So I'm already gaining leverage on everyone else I'm playing against because I'm never going to pick that highest owned. So I'm not picking Duke this year. I'm not picking Florida. Those are the clear highest chosen champions. Like let me check the updated pick percentage on Yahoo right now for the championship. Duke is getting picked 30.6% of the time. Florida is getting picked 20.5% of the time. So just theoretically using those numbers, right? 50% of your bracket pool has picked Duke or Florida. I'm not going to pick either of those two teams, even though I think those two teams are very good. If you're in a bracket pool, if I'm in a bracket pool where I can put more than one entry in, like say it's a 3 max or a 5 max, I'll have Duke or Florida maybe on one of those brackets. But for my main groups, that's single entry, I'm not picking Duke and I'm not picking Florida. So I'm already gaining leverage on the field. I don't need to go too crazy elsewhere. But yeah, so let's dive in. There's also, so if you guys tailed the futures that I put out, there's one other futures bet that I'm going to put in that was not on that list that I just decided on last night. So we'll talk about that too. So we'll start in the South here. We'll take Auburn obviously over Alabama State. Louisville Creighton is very, very interesting because I think both of these teams could give Auburn trouble. And it's just it's the first game of the tournament, Louisville Creighton, and it's like one of the best first round games. Like these are two very, very good teams. The public is slightly leaning Louisville in this one with a 55.9% pick rate. Based off what I've seen in terms of the actual likelihood, Louisville's closer to like 64, 65% to win that game. But you guys know I'm a big Creighton fan. I love Ryan Kalkbrenner. They've kind of been one of my teams the last few years. So I'm going to pick Louisville. But I think, like stylistically, I think Creighton could really give Auburn some trouble should they match up, just because Ryan Kalkbrenner can match up with Janai Broome and kind of like how they play that drop coverage, it kind of inviting Auburn to take those like tougher mid-range shots. I don't really know if that's Auburn's game. So, I mean, I think Louisville is a better team than Creighton, but at the same time, I think Creighton is probably maybe a worse matchup than Louisville is for Auburn. So if I was Auburn, I'd probably want to see Louisville, even though Louisville is a very good team. Not to jump ahead, but of all the 1 and 2 seeds, who could you see losing first? Yeah. In terms of like vulnerability for the top seeds, I think the ones are pretty solid this year. So from what I've looked at, I'm pretty sure, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, if any of the 4 number 1 seeds win the tournament, they're going to finish the season as like the highest ranked KenPom team in the last like 18 or 19 years. So that's how good all 4 of these number 1 seeds are. And I think there's a big sizable gap after them. I think Bama's the closest to them. After the 4 ones, I think Bama's 5 and they're the closest. But overall, I think the ones are pretty solid. Now that I'm not saying that one of the ones can't lose, and not make the Final Four. I'm just saying like there's a pretty big gap between the ones and everyone else, I think. For the 2s, I think Michigan State, even though I really like them, I would say they're vulnerable to a first weekend loss. Alabama certainly is vulnerable to a first weekend loss because they're very good on defense this year in comparison to past years, but they're not quite as good 3-point shooting. If they shoot themselves out of a game, they could certainly lose. Tennessee, I think, is vulnerable. I think all the 2s are vulnerable, to be quite honest with you, Ryan. Tennessee is I'm just not high on them. I've seen okay, so if we're looking at to win, like Tennessee to go to the Elite Eight, 60% pick rate, even a 25% to win from there. Like I'm just not high on Tennessee personally. St. John's is the best 2 seed in my opinion, after Bama, right? I think it's Bama and then St. John's and then Michigan State and then Tennessee. But St. John's has their struggles on offense, so that in itself would lead them to be vulnerable. So I think all the twos have flaws. The ones I think are probably safe for the first weekend. If I were to pick one, it would be Auburn. Somehow Auburn got the number one overall seed, but I think they're the worst overall number one. I don't really understand it. I would have Duke, Florida, and Houston all above Auburn, even though Auburn got the number one overall. I don't understand it, but saw the trend of teams starting unranked don't have a good history. Yeah. Yeah, I think certain trends are definitely applicable each year. St. John's is the one I would kind of push back on just because I don't think there's a quantifiable stat or trend that can highlight having the best basketball coach of all time. Like literally having the best college basketball coach, in my opinion, ever would kind of outweigh some trends, but I do think they're applicable at times, yes. So I think Creighton would give Auburn trouble, but I'm going to pick Louisville in this first game. Then we get into this 5-12. So this is UC San Diego is everyone's darling Cinderella pick, but the public really hasn't caught up to that. Michigan, coming off that Big Ten title, still getting picked 77% of the time. I'm looking at like Nate Silver's projections, and he has UC San Diego, like he has this game as 50-50 in the first round. And like pretty close to 50-50. He's got Michigan at 59%. But the public is picking them 80% of the time. So even though I like UC San Diego, the problem for me is they're not very big, and Michigan has those two 7-footers. So that's the concern for me. So I actually think Michigan wins this game, but given that we're playing in a massive contest here, I don't think Michigan's going to go on a deep run, and I could be wrong about that. Like that could be a team I'm wrong about, but I'm going to take UC San Diego, not even because I think they're going to win the game, just because it's close to a 50-50 game and Michigan's being super highly picked. So I don't even love this, but I'm going to do it. Yale is a trendy Cinderella here against Texas A&M, or upset pick, I should say. I'll take Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M can go on a run in this tournament. I was high on them last year, if you guys remember, going on a run. It's kind of the same situation. Really good on defense. They struggle to score, but they get a ton of second chance points. So since we just picked an upset with UC San Diego, I'm not going to double down there with Yale, especially with Texas A&M, a team I think that could win multiple games. So that would be losing out on a lot of points if Yale does not win that game. All right. So this is what I really want to talk about here. Ole Miss and North Carolina. So North Carolina, everyone made a big deal. They shouldn't get in the tournament. Then they come out, they're favored over San Diego State, and they just put belt to ass last night. The fact that I bet on San Diego State, that was probably my bet. That was my worst bet of 2025 thus far. Just absolutely horrible bet. North Carolina just smoked them. But I don't really know how much that changes my perception of North Carolina, considering they've been good against those mid-level teams all season. They've struggled against the good teams that they've played. They've beat bad teams all season. So I don't really know what that changes. Like I've seen a lot of people talking about North Carolina going to the Final Four now and stuff. I really just couldn't disagree more with that. I just still don't think they're that good of a team. Like people were talking about their defense. Like San Diego State can't score anyways. Like I don't really think beating San Diego State changes that much in my opinion. And I was not really on Ole Miss all year, but this is the futures bet that I've added that I wanted to talk about. I think Ole Miss can make a run to the Elite Eight even. Obviously they have one of the best coaches in the country in Chris Beard. They're an older team. They have a lot of guys that score, so they're not overly reliant on one player. And they've also played a gauntlet schedule in the SEC, and they have some quality wins. They beat Bama at Bama. They beat Tennessee at home. Like they've got some quality wins this year. So I'm actually a little bit higher on Mississippi than I was coming into the brackets. So I'm going to add them Sweet 16 and Elite 8, I think, for small bets. I think Sweet 16, they're about plus 350 on Bet365. And then for the Elite 8, they're like 7 or 8 to 1. So pretty good numbers, especially because, so I'm going to take them over North Carolina. This pick percentage right now, obviously it's super lopsided because we didn't know who Ole Miss was playing. I would expect this number to change a lot over the next couple hours, like throughout tonight, because it seems like people want to bet on North Carolina now after that performance. So, Keaton, I'm going to do that. I actually did that last night, so I'll share it at the end. Iowa State over Lipscomb for me. I don't really like Marquette, but I'll take them over New Mexico, and then I'll take Michigan State there. So there's the first kind of run there of the South region. I'm going to take Michigan State over Marquette. I'm going to take Ole Miss over Iowa State. So Iowa State's a team I've been high on all year. If they were fully healthy, if Iowa State had Keyshawn Gilbert, I think Iowa State would be my pick to go to the Final Four from this region. But unfortunately, they don't. And I just don't know if you can overcome that in an act like playing good teams, right? Like Ole Miss would be a tough, Ole Miss or North Carolina, but mainly Ole Miss would be a tough matchup. Michigan State or Marquette would be a tough matchup. Potentially seeing Auburn would be a tough matchup. So that's a hard run to go through, missing one of your best offensive players. So I'm going to take Ole Miss over Iowa State. I'm going to take Auburn over Louisville, and I'm going to take Texas A&M over UC San Diego. This is where it gets interesting because if I'm right and like if this worked out to be the matchup in the Sweet 16, Texas A&M just beat Auburn. It was at home, so we have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt here, but they just beat Auburn by 9 points. And Auburn struggles. The only really big weak point of their team is on the glass and giving up offensive rebounds. And that is exactly what Texas A&M does. It's what they're the best in the country at getting second chance points. And if we look at, I want to pull up the box score from that game, which was on March 4th. If we're looking at total rebounds, Auburn had 25 in that game and Texas A&M had 41. So Texas A&M is equipped to exploit the weakness of Auburn. I'm going to take Auburn. You guys know, if you saw the futures thing, I already have futures placed on Texas A&M, so I really don't need to double down here. But I think if we got Texas A&M versus Auburn, I think Texas A&M is extremely live in that game, and they could, make a run to the Elite Eight or Final Four. But I'm going to take Auburn in this bracket, especially because we already have bets on Texas A&M anyways. No reason to double down. Ole Miss and Michigan State is tough for me because I really like Michigan State. We also have a Final Four ticket on Michigan State from back in like November. But I don't know. I'm kind of just like, all of a sudden I've come on to this Ole Miss team. And I'm probably going to take Auburn to the Final Four. So if I'm looking at likelihood to make the Elite Eight, Ole Miss is around an 11% chance. Michigan State, much higher, at 40%. So I'll probably just take Michigan State, but I don't know. I think Ole Miss is extremely live here. And then we're going to take Auburn to the Final Four. So pretty standard towards the end, but Ole Miss is going to be a big stand for me, I think. And Texas A&M, Auburn does not want, I can tell you right now, Auburn does not want to see Texas A&M in the Sweet 16. They want to see any of those other teams. All right, let's do the West next. The West is like the group of death, in my opinion. Florida is arguably the best team right now. St. John's is the second best 2 seed in my opinion. Texas Tech's the best 3 seed in my opinion. Maryland's the best 4 seed in my opinion. Colorado State is the best 12 seed in my opinion. You've got UConn and Oklahoma, 2 really good teams in the 8-9 game. I think this region is just absolutely stacked. So we're going to start off obviously just taking those 2. UConn, Oklahoma. I actually think Oklahoma's live in this game. UConn is going to be heavily picked because they're UConn. Looking at, let me look at Nate Silver here. Nate Silver has UConn 67% to make to win that game, and I don't know. I think Oklahoma's live in the game. I'll probably just take UConn, but I like how Oklahoma's played down the stretch of the season, to be quite honest with you. And I think Fears is an absolute killer. Like, he could just take the game over. We're taking Colorado State over Memphis. This is hilarious to me, and this is the stuff that you should pay attention to if you're making bracket pools. But Colorado State is favored in this game, and Memphis is being picked 68% of the time. It just doesn't make any sense. Colorado State may lose this game, but it makes zero sense to take a underdog being picked 68% of the time in round 1. Colorado State has been on fire. I know the Mountain West struggles in the tournament historically, but they've been on fire. One of the best teams in the country over the last month. They've won 10 games in a row coming into the season. And yeah, I'll take them. I'll take Maryland over Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon might be popular because they were popular last year. I don't think it's the same team at all. Their best player, Tyon Grant Foster, has fallen off a cliff this year. I don't know if there's something wrong with him physically, mentally, but I mean, he was a killer last year. He's shooting like 20% from 3 this year. His points per game is down almost 7 or 8 points. He has been absolutely terrible all year. So we'll take Maryland over Grand Canyon. Missouri Drake. This is an interesting one. Drake's a pretty popular 11-6 upset pick here, being picked 41% of the time. They're an interesting team. So they won 30 games, as you can see here. They brought in a D2 coach who was like the best D2 coach, and he brought a bunch of D2 guys with him. And I mean, they just ran through the MVC with ease. They went 17-3 in conference play. I don't know. I mean, Missouri is like, let me see. Let me see what Nate Silver has this. He's got Missouri 60% to win this game. They're being picked 58%. I'll probably just take Missouri. We'll take Texas Tech. And then Kansas, Arkansas. I don't know if you guys have a take on this. I think Kansas is clearly the pick here, even though I hate them. And you guys know I hate them. But yeah, I think it's Kansas easy. And to be quite honest with you guys, I think Kansas could make a run. I really do. Of any seed outside the top 6, Kansas is like number 2 on my list that I think could make a deep run. I really think they could. So I'm not going to pick it, but I'm concerned about it. I'm going to take St. John's over them, though. We'll take Texas Tech. So I'm going to go pretty chalk here. We could take Colorado State over Maryland because we're going to have them losing to Florida anyways. Might do that. We'll have a little fun. Take a 12 seed to the Sweet 16. We'll take St. John's, and then we'll take Florida. So pretty standard bracket down here, minus Colorado State over Maryland. We'll just go over to the Midwest here. This is the easiest bracket, in my opinion, to figure out. I think Houston got the best draw of any team, which is great for me because I've been, we have futures on Houston, and I've been high on them all season. I think they got clearly the best draw here. Gonzaga, people are scared of Gonzaga. Gonzaga always struggles against physical teams. If they play Houston, Houston is going to completely bully them. They always get bullied by those super physical teams. I don't think that's a good matchup for Gonzaga at all. I think it's a good matchup for Houston. So I think Houston ran really pure here. Illinois is not a good team in my opinion as a 6. Purdue's not very good as a 4 because I'm pretty low on the Big Ten in general. I think Clemson's good, but Kentucky's the weakest 3, I would say, or second weakest. Yeah, Kentucky's the second weakest 3. I think Illinois is, just not a great 6. Purdue is the weakest 4 for sure. And then Tennessee is the weakest 2 in my opinion. So I think Houston ran really, really good here with this bracket. I think they're going to walk honestly to the Final Four. I don't really think any of these teams are going to challenge them. Utah State, UCLA is an interesting game. UCLA, we faded them in the Big Ten tournament. They've struggled away from home this year. But then again, Utah State, obviously coming from the MWC, a team that has, or a conference that has struggled in tournament play. I don't know. I mean, we could take an upset because I would take Tennessee there anyways, but do with it what you will. We'll pencil in Kentucky. High Point is definitely live to beat Purdue, but there's no reason for me to pick that really. I'm going to take Clemson all the way there. So pretty standard here. Now, what I want to talk about is with this Illinois versus the play-in winner. We don't know who has won this game yet, but if you read my preview for this region last night, I think Xavier is equipped for tournament play, and I would take them over Illinois if we get Xavier. I would take, honestly, Xavier to win multiple games if they beat Texas tonight. The problem is I don't know if they're going to beat Texas. So this pick will be contingent on Xavier winning. If Xavier doesn't win, I'll probably just go chalkier and take Illinois to get here. But I want to take Xavier for right now. They're a very, very good team. They are, like Colorado State, super hot down the stretch of the season. They should have beat Marquette in the Big East tournament. They choked at the end of the game. They had a sizable lead towards the end of the game. They have good guards. They have a good big man. They play pretty drop coverage heavy on defense, which I think would give Illinois a lot of problems because Illinois has not been apt to step up and take those shots. They just want to keep firing from 3. So I don't know. If Xavier wins, I like them. I have, you guys saw we took the future on them to make like the Sweet 16 at really good odds on Bet365. I think Xavier can win multiple games if they win tonight. But if they don't, if Xavier loses tonight, I'm going Illinois and then Tennessee. If Xavier wins tonight, I mean, I think they could beat Tennessee, to be quite honest with you. And it's not going to matter because I have Houston getting out of there. So you can kind of do with this what you will. We can have some fun, though, and take Xavier down there. All right. So, I mean, insane chalk in the Final Four, which is to be expected. I think Baylor could give Duke some problems if they don't have Cooper Flagg. Have we got a firm update on him yet? Does anyone know? I don't think he's going to miss like the tournament or anything, obviously, but when is he going to be back? Let's see here. Full steam ahead. I want to get Coop back as quickly as we can, and he wants to do the same. Obviously, tomorrow Monday is important. We get an off day today. Get back late, blah, blah, blah. Our goal is for Friday, no question about it. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I'm assuming he's going to play, though, at least by the second game. If for some reason Cooper Flagg did not play in this game, I think Baylor would give them some problems. But Duke's the best team, top to bottom. Oregon Liberty, if you guys don't know, Dana Altman, Oregon's coach, 8-0 in the first round of the NCAA tournament during his time in Oregon, so we can just pencil him in there. I've seen some love for Akron a little bit. The problem for me is Akron is very short. They're like the shortest team in the country. More importantly, though, they play extremely fast and they shoot a lot of threes. Arizona is completely fine playing very fast. So I think Arizona is going to roll them. I think of the top 3 seeds, I think the most live underdog is Montana. And spoiler alert for you guys, I haven't given out any bets, obviously, for the first day of the tournament. But I will be betting Montana spread and sprinkling the money line in this game. Something just feels off to me about this Wisconsin team. You can disagree with me in the comments if you want here, or someone can disagree with me. Every year I get a feeling about a team, and this year it's Wisconsin. Something just does not feel right to me. Mike, what's up? You think my Tar Heels are running them? I do, Mike. I think they definitely could. I like Ole Miss on that side, but yeah, I think North Carolina could go on a run, definitely. Anything else is a bonus. I agree with. At least they got in. You know, they beat the brakes off San Diego State. Yeah, I think they could go on a run. Something feels severely off with me about Wisconsin, though. So I'm going to be betting Montana spread and money line. I'll take Wisconsin in the bracket, but I don't know, man. Something just feels weird here. I just don't trust them. End of the day. I do not trust Wisconsin. And then BYU, VCU, if you guys saw my futures, you know where I'm going here. I'm taking VCU. I think VCU is the third best team in this region, and they're the 11th seed. And I don't even care. Like, I don't care. You can disagree with me if you want. VCU is legitimately good. And they have a player that can take over in Max Shulga. And more importantly, I think they match up extremely well against BYU. Like, they're going to run BYU off the 3-point line. BYU wants to shoot threes. I think it's a bad matchup for BYU. And if they can get through BYU, I think they could go on a deep run. I really, really like VCU. Like, I think 4-1 to win 2 games is insanely good value. Because I mean, legitimately, I think they're a better team than BYU. And I don't even know if they're going to play Wisconsin because I think Wisconsin could lose. I think VCU is better than BYU, and I don't care if you disagree with me. That's very fine. So that's my kind of stand. I'm going to take VCU to win a couple games here. We can just pencil in Bama, Duke. So pretty standard there. I think you could take VCU over Bama if you want to, or Wisconsin. Like, you don't have to take Bama deep here. If Bama's fully healthy, they could win this. Like, this would be a big point of emphasis or leverage spot because so many people, you know, only 20% are picking Bama over Duke in that spot. Since I don't have Duke winning, though, I'm fine just taking the chalk. People will laugh at me. You have 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. Again, be mindful of, A, the contest you're playing, but what you're doing at the end of this. Yes, I have 4 number 1 seeds. I'm not picking Duke and I'm not picking Florida. So if these teams get there, I automatically am in the best position of anyone in my bracket pool because anyone that has the chalk like this has Florida, Duke, and Duke or Florida winning. Every single person. So I've already gained leverage on the field. If this actually happens and we just got chalk and it was the 4 number 1 seeds, there's no way that someone that picks Houston or Auburn isn't in the best position. Because everyone is going to have the other combination. So I'm going to take Houston over Duke. I'm going to take Florida over Auburn, and I'm going to take Houston to win the title. So again, this is kind of like my main style of bracket. Even though I'm putting this in this Yahoo contest, this is equipped for, 200, 300 or less people. If you're playing in bigger contests, you want to get a little crazy, you can. Like, some examples, I think you could take Texas A&M over Auburn, and you could take Texas A&M to the Final Four, I think. But we have like Xavier over Tennessee, right? Like, that's a little crazy. But overall, it doesn't matter because so many people are picking Duke in that matchup, and then so many people are picking Florida in that matchup. We're already going to be at a heavy advantage down the end anyways. But I think Houston is going to win. I don't even know. Just put in whatever. I think Houston's going to win the title. I've said this for weeks and weeks if you've watched the stream. I feel like the theme of the last few years has been getting over the hump. Like, look at the last few months, what we've seen, right? The Philadelphia Eagles got over the hump and won the Super Bowl. The Ohio State Buckeyes got over the hump. Ryan Day got over the hump, won national championship. And I think Houston can get over the hump finally and win this with what I think is the best Houston team of the last 4 to 5 years. They've never been able to shoot threes like this. They're still great on defense. They're still great at getting second chances. They'll grind you out. But ultimately, the difference between losing a close game in the Elite Eight or the Final Four and winning the national championship, being able to not stall out on offense and make those timely shots. And they're a top 10 3-point shooting team in the country, and they can finally do that. So I like Houston to win it all. Who's your favorite Final Four pick in each region that isn't a 1 or 2? I mean, the East, I don't really see any team coming out of here that's not Duke or Alabama. If I had to pick someone, it'd probably be VCU. Here, I mean, I really don't think Houston could lose this region, and I could be wrong, but I think Xavier is live, honestly. If they win, I think Kentucky's live if they make a bunch of threes. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts there. Down here, you could get some chaos. Like Texas Tech easily could go to the Final Four. Maryland could go to the Final Four. Texas Tech is a very, very good team. And then up here, it's Ole Miss or Texas A&M. Probably Texas A&M, honestly, because I would probably bet Texas A&M like on the spread in this game. Like I definitely think Texas A&M would be live. So if I was picking a non-1 or 2 to go to the Final Four, Texas A&M up there, probably Texas Tech down here, or Maryland. Here is tougher because I think Houston's just going to walk to the Final Four. But if Xavier wins, I'd be willing to maybe do something crazy with them. And then up here, probably VCU, to be honest. FanDuel doing a promo for biggest dog to win. Yeah, Montana for me, Keaton, 100%. I think they're live. I want to pick one of Michigan State or St. John's lose second game. Man, tough, Ryan. Honestly, probably Kansas over St. John's if I was going to do one of those. If Michigan State was playing someone else, I'd pick them, but I just don't like Marquette. So probably Kansas over St. John's. Jim, yes, I am doing survivor pools, and we can most certainly talk about that on the streams 100%. So for Thursday, I kind of want to keep, because I think the top 4 seeds are so much better than everyone else this season. I kind of want to keep them available. Like last year, I knew how popular UConn was, so I was kind of fine just fading them, to be honest with you. And then that ultimately didn't work because they won the title. This year, I want to keep those ones alive as long as I can. So I would be looking at any high seed for the first round, high seed that I really don't think can make a run. So Tennessee would fit that mold. I think you could use Iowa State I think they play Friday though. So for Thursday, I like Tennessee or Clemson. Those would be my 2 favorites. Clemson probably, I don't know. Tennessee or Clemson, I think for Thursday, Jim, right now is where I was leaning. And then for Friday, maybe like an Iowa State. But we'll talk about it. I'll be live tomorrow at 11, before the game starts. So we'll definitely talk about it. But yeah, I love playing the survivor pools. If you guys have any other questions, though, like I said, the content is up, rollinginsights.com if you want my regional preview articles, minus the one that's not showing. So I'll fix that after the stream and make sure that it's displaying for you guys. I'll be live tomorrow, 11 a.m. We'll talk bets for tomorrow. Like I said, spoiler alert for tomorrow, I'm going to be on Montana at least Montana plus 17.5. Probably sprinkle the money line as well. I like Missouri tomorrow, I think. And I like Houston. They're like minus 28.5. I don't care. They're going to win by 35. So I like them too. But we'll talk about it tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in. Good luck in your bracket pools. If you guys want to see this bracket, like it's up for replay, obviously, but just message me and I'll just take a screenshot for you. Good luck today. If you're betting tonight, I'm probably going to bet Xavier tonight over Texas just because I really want them to get in. I think they're minus 2.5. So we'll see what happens there. But I'll see everybody tomorrow at 11. And good luck when you're filling out your brackets.